Okay, so my goals for today: an overview of the PEP program, problem solving, and tools you can use. And then I always like to butter people up. So go ahead, and if you can't read that cartoon, it says, your heart is slightly bigger because you're a teacher. So I always like to make sure I'm buttering up the teachers in the room before I get started here. All right, so what is the PEP grant? Again, it's a national federal grant from the U.S. Department of Education. We were the only recipient. Our goals are to promote physical activity, to promote nutrition, and to improve physical education. Within that, there's a whole host of infrastructure pieces, and one of those is coordinated school health. Whenever I write a grant, I tie in coordinated school health. I might have alluded to the fact that I first heard Dr. Cooper in 2007, I believe, at a conference in Traverse City, and I have been a groupie ever since. And I came back very, very excited about coordinated school health. I had been the RTI coordinator for Red Yard area schools prior, and I saw how perfectly this brought everything together. I'm definitely one of those people that does not enjoy silos, and so it really spoke to me kind of at my core. I've been working for 5 years trying to get our region to do coordinated school health, and so I have found that the best way to do that is come in through the back door. So I write into grants, and I set aside money for coordinated school health facilitators, which we have some of mine in the room today, and for coordinated school health team meetings, okay? Working on policies around nutrition and physical education and physical activity. Now, when I write in that infrastructure, and I'm getting ahead of my PowerPoint, when I write in that infrastructure for coordinated school health, yes, it is in the vein of the PEP grant. So your first and foremost items on your agenda need to be nutrition policy, physical education policy. But that does not mean that you can't address all the other areas of coordinated school health, okay? So if you get a grant, try to sneak in coordinated school health that way. We provide a lot of professional development for our PE teachers. So PE teachers in the room, you know how overlooked you are with professional development. And we offered it free to our EUP teachers. And then I was able to keep costs down, and we had a 3-day professional development in Red Yard, actually. We used their gym, thank you, Red Yard. And I had a good number of teachers come from outside our region, kept the cost down. For $50, they could come for 3 days. Offered sketches. We had presenters from NASB come or offered. And the fact that teachers came, paid $50, and paid for their travel on their summer vacation spoke volumes about how overlooked PE is as far as training and professional development. And then how proud I was when I watched all of my PE teachers in their element, in that professional development, and thought, my gosh, these are some skilled teachers. And I got to see them really show off their stuff. So that was really exciting. Professional development is huge, and it's a constant battle for PE. The other thing is equipment, right? So, and that's kind of the carrot, is the equipment piece. The infrastructure is, I lead the project. I have a coordinator who works for me, so we're kind of like a top dispersed leadership at the ISD, and then each district has a coordinated school health facilitator, which I pay a small stipend for the work that they do outside of their regular duties. Most of my facilitators are teachers. I have a couple who are administrators. Then we have the PE teachers, and they're in charge of, well, the physical education teaching, and also a lot of assessment pieces. And so we're getting a lot of data. We actually had 5 testing windows over this past year. And during those testing windows, we collected a lot of data on a lot of different things. And then elementary teachers, they have to help with, one of the things we do is every kid gets a pedometer. So during those testing windows, we're tracking their daily steps. okay? And so our PE teachers in the elementary, unless you have a very well-funded school, are not seeing their elementary kids every day, correct? Anybody here seeing their kids every day? Okay, so elementary teachers have to really help out. So in the morning, we have them open up their data director, which all of your schools should have access to and be using. And if you're not, ask about it. Open up their data director and enter that information right into that data collection software. Again, that's something that is free to you because your schools are already investing in that. If they don't have data director, they have something similar, okay? Moving on, our goals. So what are we measuring? Pedometers, daily steps. We also do fruit and vegetable consumption surveys, daily physical activity, recall surveys, cardiovascular endurance. So that would be like your PACER test, okay? So for my PE teachers in the house, you know what the PACER is. And then policy changes for quality physical education and the Michigan nutrition standards. So over the 3 years, some of the things we got were hop sports, okay, which is very expensive. Lots of bells and whistles, and it was kind of a goodie that our PE teachers had been looking at previously to me writing the grant, and so I wrote it in. This year we're going to get snag golf. Before we had the grant, we had already, as physical educators in the region, been working together on what we call a curriculum review team. And one of the things we did while creating a common curriculum is had teachers, administrators, and parents take a survey about what they thought were the most important lifelong physical activities kids should know. And golf actually came out as one of the top ones, probably because a lot of parents in our area golf, right? I know many adults that I know golf. So introducing kids to golf. Fitnessgram, we're getting Fitnessgram this year. You may or may not know that the presidential fitness that has been around since I was a kid is going away as of now, gone. Everything's over to Fitnessgram. So that doesn't mean that you have to purchase the Fitnessgram software. You can have all the elements of that testing. Fitnessgram software just makes it so much easier. Pedometers for all students. We have about 5,000 pedometers in circulation right now, and we're going to have more next year, over 14 school districts. And the EUP is about 4,000 square miles. So you can imagine the herding that we need to do, especially with pedometers. iPad 2s for all of my PE teachers. Okay, so if you're a PE teacher and I'm asking you to do a lot of assessment, and you don't usually have a desk in your gym, right, with a computer set up, if I'm asking that of you, then I need to give you a tool to do it. So here's an iPad 2. When you're doing your assessments, open up the screen, enter your data in real time, okay? Also using apps as part of their professional development and also as instructional tools, okay? Support for coordinated school health facilitators. I went over that. And partnerships. We have a partnership with Lake Superior State University, and we also have one with the Sioux Tribe, which is why I'm here today, because we work very well together. So the CTG grant and the PEP grant have been working together to try to make sure that we're streamlining all of the initiatives we're trying to do so that we're speaking the same language, so that we're all, Lisa Jo's not emailing you about something and then Paula's emailing you about something different, right? We're on the same page about our goals. So I'm thinking by now, those of you not from the Eastern Upper Peninsula are thinking, whoop-de-doo, how does that help me, okay? So what I really tried to do with this presentation, and I hope that I come through for you, is to try to give you some ideas of how to do some of the things we're doing with PEP with little to no money, okay? So problem solving, you can't afford hop sports. Well, you know, hop sports is not our curriculum. Hop sports is a tool. It's a very fancy tool that we had money to purchase. You can do a lot of things by finding videos on YouTube for whole class instruction. So if you have a day set aside where you want to do whole class instruction, and you have your kids who are really good at physical activity and are very coordinated and whatnot, they can go along and be following along with the video while you as the teacher can go around and work with the kids who are struggling. You can get that one-on-one time with them while all the kids are doing an activity. You don't have a grant or your school hasn't bought you an iPad. Most of you have an iPhone, iPad, iPod, one of those things. Most apps are free that we use, although we do have some that are maybe $5. There are some really great apps out there, and if you haven't been looking at them to use as part of your instruction in PE, I would really encourage you to do so. We have a wiki page that we created in the EUP, and a wiki is a website where anyone can add to it, and so our PE teachers, when they have an app that they feel is really useful, either for them as a professional or as an instructional piece, they put it up on the wiki. So anyone has access to that, and we would also welcome people to add to it, okay? So like, we're not the brain trust over in the EUP, right? Like, you all have really good ideas, really good resources. Share them with us, and we can all share and all be better. Can't afford FitnessGram. It's expensive. I actually went to bat with them just recently because they wanted to charge $599 per school. And I said, you don't have like a tiered system for purchasing FitnessGram? Like, okay, I have a K-12 school that has 50 kids, and then my biggest school of K-12 is like 2,000 kids. And you're making me pay the same per school that, Lafayette schools with Dr. Cooper is paying per school with 30,000 kids? So they did end up giving, they changed their policy because I'm a squeaky wheel, and they're now offering a 20% discount for rural schools. So if you are going to purchase FitnessGram, make sure you say that you know they can offer you a 20% discount. I definitely sent that email out to all my colleagues. An idea. Anybody know about flipping classrooms? Okay, we got a couple of people. So flipping is a new concept with the infusion of technology in our classrooms. And the premise of it is, why are we spending all of our time in the classroom delivering the knowledge piece, and then we have no time to guide, practice, and develop skill, right? So I'm busy giving you a lot of information, and then I'm running out of time to actually help you apply it. So you can do this with physical education or any curriculum area, especially if your kids have good access to technology. So you can assign homework for PE. For instance, you might have a really good link to an instructional video on pickleball, and you're going to be doing that next week. You have your kids watch that 20-minute video. They come in with a pretty good idea of how to play pickleball. Now you're able to actually play pickleball and help them with the skills that are surrounded around that game, okay? You also can make your own video, which I encourage if it's something that you can't find really high quality videos out there. But if you look, you usually can find some pretty good videos out there that are instructional. So problem solving around pedometers. So we had to purchase 5,000, and we're gonna be purchasing even more here next month. And that's a lot of money, okay? But if you bought a classroom set of pedometers, which, how many of you have a classroom set of pedometers? PE teachers, awesome. So I don't need to tell you this, right? Then there's a lot of things you can do with pedometers within your PE classroom. During our NASB 3-day training just this summer, our presenter did like a half a day just around how to use pedometers in your PE classroom. So that's relatively cheap. I prefer accelerometers. We were actually introduced to them during that conference we had this summer, and we're not allowed to use those because of the PEP it says we have to use pedometers, but those of you who don't have the PEP, you're free to use whatever you want. So maybe look into those. The next one would be professional development for PE teachers. And I alluded to this in the beginning quite strongly, that our PE teachers are overlooked. Every year when we're having regional professional development, there is just a cry from our PE teachers that there is nothing for us on this agenda, okay? Yes, we are correlating to the Common Core and we are working on how do we support that. But I'm not really sure if my PE teacher spending 3 hours in a reading workshop is going to be beneficial on how they're going to improve their skill in instructing physical education. So there are a couple of ways for you to advocate for yourself to get professional development. Through your educational development plans, through the new teacher evaluation process. If you're supplying data that shows areas where you need more development, then that has to go in your EDP. So if you have the data to supply, then you can illustrate why you need professional development in certain areas of physical education. Deficits in your content area through school improvement goals. Okay, so again, but that's all tied back to data, right? It's really hard to write a goal that you're going to spend a lot of money for a PE teacher to get professional development if you can't tell them why or show them why with numbers. Not just because I think I need it or I have a gut feeling I need it. You have to actually have like some data to show why you need it. Your school district provides 5 days of PD a year, and it needs to be applicable. Find out what's available, and I know there's not much, but the invite to our summer conference we just had in Rudyard went out to all the schools that I could get a hold of. And I did have people come from Norway Vulcan schools, and I had people come from all the way down from Alpena. So keep your eyes peeled. A lot of those emails go to your administrator, so make sure that you're saying, hey, has anything come across the wires that pertains to my job? Because they're busy and they might have had a blip in their mind, oh, maybe I should forward that, and then you have a kid coming in who needs some discipline, or you have teachers angry about not having prep time or whatever it might be, and everybody's human. So make sure that you're advocating for yourself and not just waiting for them to realize you need it, okay? So that's the one thing. You really have to be a squeaky wheel. For your regional PD day, usually our ISDs or our RACEs do those. So you can advocate to have some professional development on that day that pertains to your content area. If you're feeling really lucky, I put here, see if your school will send you to Moppard, which this coming year will be in Detroit. Kind of costly to go from Marquette to Detroit, right? But an excellent conference. And through the PEP, we've been able to sponsor our PE teachers to go to that. Okay. Yes, we do pay a stipend for coordinated school health facilitators. But last year, well, the year prior to that, we didn't have any money for coordinated school health facilitators. I had historically been using safe and drug-free school money to support that, and that went away. So we had a dry year, but people were still doing things out in the district. I looked to Newberry, your elementary has been phenomenal in that area. Pickford, you guys kept on trucking with the HSAT and the MiFi and all that stuff. So there are passionate people, and I don't know you all up here in the front, but I'm guessing that you probably were trucking with that too. So you can find passionate people that are willing to do it if they feel like they're valued and there's a purpose, okay? So some ways to get people to come to those meetings: find a time that works best and be willing to do it after school. I've run into a lot of schools that want to do it during the school day and pay for subs for their teachers. That's amazing, except for usually when I look at the roster of who was at that meeting, it's mostly school people. So that might not always be the case, but if that's happening, Be willing to be flexible. Give everyone a job. No one wants to go to a meeting to get a summary of what you're doing, okay? Like, here's what I did, and here's what I did, and here's what I did, and this is where we're at. Any questions? Okay, bye-bye, okay? I don't like going to those meetings, and so make people empowered, give them a job. You know, say, what do you think? Can you look up this data, right? Can you reach out to the hospital? You know the person at the hospital. Can you reach out to them? Here's what we'd like you to ask. All those things. Keep your vision on kids. Like, this is very hard because I am constantly hodgepodging. Oh, I have this grant to pull in this from here, and I have this grant to pull in this from here, and I know the people who are doing this project over there. It's very piecemeal, and it can feel very abstract. And people want to then focus in on, oh, we got new water dispensers in our school, or we got healthy vending machines. Those are things to celebrate, but we can't stop there. Those are steps on the road, right? Those are baby steps. We always have to have that vision out in front that that's not what our goal was when we started the team. Those are pieces down the road. Those are the little cobblestones that get us to where we want to be. So celebrate those, start with those, but keep your vision. It's a vision, so it's shoot for the moon, right? So shoot for the moon. If your school improvement team is receptive to your coordinated school health model or your team being a subcommittee, that's the first place I would look instead of having a separate team, okay? And that's really where we're gonna tie into what Dr. Cooper is talking about. How we've been doing it in many of our districts is that the coordinated school health team is kind of over here, and they're taking care of that nutrition stuff and that social emotional stuff, and they take care of that. And then we over here on the school improvement team, we analyze MEEP data and little else sometimes. But anyhow, so merging those together can be really helpful. And then if you get in that position of being the subcommittee, sitting on that team as a representative of coordinated school health, don't stop there, keep pushing gently. Gently push, gently keep on making those connections. Oh, you're talking about this? Well, did you know that, we're doing this over here? Let's tie those together, okay? PTA and PAC, I have a couple of schools that have been really successful, just taking part of the Parent Advisory Council's time for their coordinated school health team. Okay, that's been really helpful. That could be an avenue to get started or get people to come. I also have had some districts that have a very passionate sex ed advisory council, because those are people that are generally passionate about the overall health of kids, not just sex ed. And so looking to see if they will broaden their scope, right? And see if you can make that a coordinated school health team. And then partnerships. So we partner with Lake Superior State University and their exercise science department. Their students need field experience. We need partnerships because of our grant and because it's good business to be good partners with agencies in your region that can help you down the road. And so we try to work closely with them. If you have a community college, a university in your area, tap into the nursing students, the exercise science department, physical education teachers, pre-certification health education students, and see if they are willing to come in and help you out with that. And then through the Sioux Tribe Partnership, again, like I spoke about earlier, when we got the PEP grant, well, let me back up. When I want to actually point out what good team players Donna and her team have been, when they got the Community Transformation Grant, like, they called me and Charlie in the back, who's from Marisa, my counterpart, and they called a meeting with us. And they said, we've actually looked at what you've been doing. We actually looked at that strategic plan you put forth, Lisa Jo, that I was required to do and thought no one would ever read it. they did. They read it and they said, this lines up really well with our initiatives here, here, and here. Let's work together. Wow, what an amazing thing to do. And then when we got the PEP grant, we came back together again. And we said, okay, again, we have a lot of commonalities in what we want to do with these programs. So let's make sure we're tying our ends up here, here, and here, right? So we all want you to be doing the HSAT. We all want you to be doing the MiFi. We all want you to be setting policies at your school, right? So all those things are common goals, and so it really helps to make it more beneficial for you and not confusing for you. That's my big thing. I don't like confusing my schools, so keep it simple. An idea might be to partner with your local hospital. They could come in and perform BMI screenings, immunization clinics. They can come in and do your EPT, I'm not even gonna say the acronym, EPTS, whatever, your well child visits, those annual visits. And I was actually just talking earlier to somebody, with the new Affordable Care Act, I don't know if a lot of people know, but there's some pretty strong language in there about how hospitals now have to prove their community benefit. So what that means is they have to prove why they get nonprofit status. They've kind of always just been treated like nonprofit, much kind of like schools are, but in the IRS code, it's kind of like a gray area. And so they said, okay, you can keep your nonprofit status, but you can't just have a health fair, hand out some t-shirts, and put a blood pressure cuff on a couple of people and call that your outreach. You actually have to go where the underserved people are. Low income schools would be a really good place, right? You got a fishbowl of a lot of underserved families that come around that school. And you have to actually provide services to them, okay? So these are the kind of services you could ask them to do. So here's our contact information, okay? I encourage you all to contact me. After the conference last year, I actually had a lot of people contact me from outside the EUP, and I'm open to that. If you have questions, I will always refer you back to your coordinator, but sometimes, you know, I might have knowledge in an area that someone else might not. So I'm happy to answer questions. And the last thing would be pushing forward. Keep pushing forward, move forward, and check out our website. If you go to our website, all of our tools we use, all the surveys we use, everything like that is laid out. You can borrow it, steal it, whatever you want, okay? All right, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.